My nose is broad and short, the kind of feature that Beyonce was celebrating in Formation when she said she loved her Negro nose with Jackson 5 nostrils. I like my Negro nose with Jackson 5 nostrils. The first time I heard that line, I didn't just hear music, it hit me right in my chest. People have often said that moment was Beyonce just making a point, taking something that the world usually calls ugly and undesirable and putting it front and center as something powerful, something beautiful and unapologetically black. That's why I'm wearing all black today, okay? For me, it isn't so simple because sometimes I hear those words and I feel this spark of pride. Like I can hold my head up higher and own exactly who I am. But other times it drags me back to the things that people have said about me. Jokes about my nose being too wide, comments that I'd look better if like my nose was fixed, reminders that my face didn't fit into the version of beauty they always wanted me to believe in. Don't get me wrong, I'm a very beautiful woman, like unarguably beautiful. Even the blind can see my beauty.
But I cannot see, I'm legally blind. That's my story I'm sticking to.
But growing up, I've heard things like, oh my god, you have a short nose. Oh my god, you have a wide nose. Blah, 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 blah. And I'm not gonna lie, first of all, pick a struggle. Like, pick a struggle. Is it short? Is it wide? Is it short and wide? And again, as a child, it really, really did sting because as a child, I really used to have like very low self-esteem. I have something called body dysmorphia, which we'll speak about later on in this video. But yeah, as a child, I really used to be like a victim of bullying. I was bullied a lot by teachers, classmates, literally. I was bullied a lot. So like obviously people coming from my nose and everything, they'll come from my nose. They even came from my fucking lips. It came from my lips, y'all. My lips. Someone came from my lips. But anyways, going back to what I said. As a child, yeah, it really stung because I got my nose from my father. Like literally, if you see my dad, you see me because I used to say my dad does not need to perform a DNA test when it comes to me because like literally I'm carbon copy of my dad. And it's wild how one feature can hold so much weight, almost like you're carrying generations of history, of stereotypes and expectations right there in the middle of your face. That back and forth feeling between pride and embarrassment, between celebration and rejection is exactly why I wanted to dig deeper into rhinoplasty. And I wanted to dig deeper into rhinoplasty not just as a surgery that people do get, but as a window into culture, into history and psychology. Because a nose isn't just a nose, it's literally an identity. It's beauty standards. It's the way that people decide who you are before you've even opened your mouth. I know that may seem controversial, but honestly, believe me. And that being said, let me introduce myself. Hi guys, my name is Jewel, and on this channel, I speak about whatever I want to speak about. I could speak about you if you're an influencer watching me, but I mostly do like social commentary. I get a topic and create a bigger topic around that topic, or I get someone and create a bigger topic about that. That's what I enjoy doing. So that being said, let's get straight into this video. Secondly, before we get straight into this video, I would like to say that there are resources in my description box on how you can aid going on in this world. I'm talking about Sudan, Republic of Congo, and what's going on in the Middle East. Okay, so if you want to share the resources, please do so. If you want to donate, please do so. And that being said, disclaimer. Okay, I'm not against cosmetic surgery or anyone who decides to choose it. People should have the freedom to decide what makes them feel more comfortable in their own skin. For some, surgery brings confidence and relief, but for others, it doesn't. And my reflections are not about judging the situation, but about acknowledging the ways behind it. I'm going to speak about the culture, the history, and the emotions that have been tied to something as central as the nose. I always say you can get surgery, but hopefully you're getting it for yourself, not because you feel insecure that your partner will go to someone else that looks like Kylie Jenner or whatever, but hopefully you're getting it for yourself, not because of what the next person thinks. Okay, if I come up here with a nose job, I'm getting it for me. If I come up here doing something else, I'm getting it for me. I'm not saying I would get them, but I'd like to believe that if you choose to go under the knife, you're going under the knife for you, not because of your family member or your husband or your boyfriend. Okay, disclaimer over. Now let's speak about the historical perspectives on rhinoplasty and nasal aesthetics. If you think that nose job are some, shiny new modern thing, doing my research, I was so shocked. The thing is, when it comes to nose job, yeah, the truth is way older than that. People have been trying to fix, they've been trying to rebuild, and they've been trying to reshape their noses for thousands of years. Ancient Egypt, they were already writing about nasal repairs in the Edwin Smith papyrus, and basically this is a medical text that dates back as far as 2500 to 3000 BCE. Yo, did you think that life existed before the coming of Christ? Of course, we knew that life existed before the coming of Christ, but you would not think that people were already doing medicine then and trying to reconstruct noses. In India, there's a surgeon named Sushruta, often called the father of surgery. And Sushruta was describing how to reconstruct a nose using skin from the cheek. This guy was doing skin grafting around 600 BCE. That's 600 years before Christ came into this world. The Romans, they had their own techniques too. They would set broken noses and they would record their methods in the first century. By the Renaissance, the practice had taken a new turn because in the late 1500s, especially in Italy, there is this guy called Gaspar Tagliacozzi. So basically, this person became famous for using skin flap techniques to rebuild noses, often for men who had lost theirs in duels or punishment. And a few centuries later, in the 1800s, British surgeons like John Rowe, they started to build the idea further, not just repairing but also reshaping the nose just for the sake of appearance. And that's where the seed of what we now call cosmetic rhinoplasty were planted. From Egyptian scribes to Indian innovators, from Roman physicians like Celsus to academic surgeons like Albucasis, the nose has been centerpiece of medical invention for as long as people have been recording medicine. But the story isn't only medical, it's cultural. The nose has always been more than cartilage and skin. It's been a symbol. Blaise Pascal once said that if Cleopatra's nose had been shorter, the whole course of history might have changed. Sure, it's exaggerated, but it shows how beauty trends have shaped the way that people write about power and influence. Different eras celebrated different noses. The Renaissance Europe admired the straight Greek bridge, and then we have East Asian art. So East Asian, they leaned towards delicate and smaller profiles. When it came to those times, like the East Asian people or like the Asian people, but I even remember as the Chinese people, they used to make sure that their feet was so small because it was admirable and attractive. And when you look at those pictures, they are fucking painful. Like, they are so painful. Anyways, now let's go to African noses. So when it came to African people and indigenous traditions, so these people, before colonialism came in, which we're going to speak a little bit about that, they admired rounder shapes of nose like my shape, and they saw this type of shapes of nose as markers of beauty and heritage. And then came colonialism, and colonialism just turned much of that upside down, because by the 19th century, especially in Europe and the United States, surgeons were openly writing about Jewish, Irish, and African noses as being deformed, or unattractive for whites. How? They treated surgery as a way to erase those features, pushing assimilation through scalpels and scalpels alone. Yeah, it wasn't just medicine that came into play. We had politics too. We had class, we had race, and all these, they were tangled into one. Modern scholars, they remind us that cosmetic surgery has never been separate from identity. So one thing you guys should know is that cosmetic surgery has never been separate from identity. The history of rhinoplasty just makes it very clear that beauty standards don't just appear out of nowhere. Beauty standards are built, are enforced, and passed down by systems of power. So now let's speak about medical and cosmetic rhinoplasty. Rhinoplasty usually gets talked about in two ways. First of all is medical, and second one is cosmetic. The medical side obviously is about function, that is helping somebody to breathe better or repairing damage after, let's say, someone gets into an accident or someone falls ill. Think of a nose that healed crooked after being broken, or a deviated septum that makes it very hard to breathe, or reconstructing a nose that was damaged by trauma or disease. The cosmetic side, obviously we all know about the cosmetic side, is about appearance, changing the bridge, the tip, or the nostrils to just match what someone thinks looks good on their face. And it's not rare because in 2020, yo, let me shock you guys. In 2020, over 350,000 people in the US alone had rhinoplasty, making it one of the most popular surgeries that year. And I'm like, in the middle of a panini, weren't we supposed to be in our house? Over 350. It kind of makes sense because obviously people are not going out to work, so they will heal in their house. But again, like that was a lot of people, especially in the USA, just getting their noses done. And worldwide, there is this estimation that about 1 million people get their nose done every single year. Most of these people are young adults with around 60%. 60% being between the ages of 18 and 34, and about 2/3 of this 60% being women. And the way surgeons approach it just depends on the goal. Welcome to my history class, not my history class, but take me as your plastic surgeon. I'm not a plastic surgeon. I am even scared of needles. Like I got my belly button pierced like on today is Wednesday. I got my belly button pierced on Friday, and yo, I was so scared. But my friend got their eyebrows pierced, and yo, I was holding the camera, but I was looking away because nope, no, like literally, I am so scared of needles.
How 90% of my piercing sessions are 2020. 2021. How do I have 15 piercings, please?
Like, yeah. So take me as your surgeon, okay? And you guys are my student. But anyways, or as your teacher, your surgery teacher, take me as that. But anyways, let's get into what a closed rhinoplasty does. So a closed rhinoplasty just hides the incision between the nostrils, so there is no visible scar. And an open rhinoplasty involves a small cut across the strip of skin between the nostrils, letting the surgeon just peel back the skin and work directly on the bone and the cartilage. Yo. Even if I want to get no surgery, I would be so scared. I see all those pictures of people after they got a nose surgery and their eyes are closed, and then there's something coming out of their mouths. They look dead. Like they look dead. Oh my god. And yo, I'm not gonna lie, it's so scary. But anyways, back to the topic at hand, because y'all are seated listening to me. So sometimes cartilage grafts, when it comes to an open rhinoplasty, they literally get added in, usually taken from the septum or even the ear, to provide structure or to reshape the contour. Afterwards, patients, they usually wear a small splint for a week. The swelling and bruising and the classic panda eye look, they will ease up after like let's say a couple of weeks, but the final shape can take months to settle in. Like with any other surgery, the risks are real because you're gonna bleed. You may have like risk of infection, you may have difficulty breathing or corrections that go too far, and this could leave deformities like a flattened bridge or a sharp beak-like tip. Before we go on, please share this video. Thank you so much because I've done lots of research into this. Like this video if you've not, because thank you guys so much, and comment what you guys think so far. So in recent years, there's also been the rise of non-surgical tweaks like liquid rhinoplasty. So what's liquid rhinoplasty? I see this all the time, especially people who do like fillers and all. I'm turning 30 soon, and I'm thinking of gifting myself like a Botox or whatever. I don't know. So my forehead, but I don't know why I'm saying this, but I'm saying this because like my forehead is still having wrinkles. I don't know if I should wait till I'm 40. It does not bother me, but I think I started noticing it last year. It definitely doesn't bother me, but I'm like, should I gift myself something, because I'm turning 30? But I am so scared. Like I said, like I see all these videos and like, yeah, and I heard it's so painful. So I don't know if I'm gonna do that because I don't see myself doing it like constantly. But either way, it's like I really do not care, if I'm being very, very honest. I don't know why I said that, but I just said that. But anyways, let's talk about liquid rhinoplasty because yeah, there's this rise of non-surgical tweaks like liquid rhinoplasty. So instead of cutting the nose or like doing everything I mentioned when it comes to open and closed rhinoplasty, fillers such as hyaluronic acid, they get injected into smooth bumps or lift the tip. It's very fast and it doesn't require any downtime, and it gives people a temporary change. A propaganda I'm not falling for is there's liquid BBL and liquid rhinoplasty. Liquid BBL, I'm not falling for that propaganda. You sit on your ass. Like, there's this thing like, is it gonna bust? But people do liquid BBL. But let's go back to liquid rhinoplasty. But it doesn't actually reduce or like structurally like alter the nose, and the results wear off within months. Traditional rhinoplasty just remains the only way to make permanent change. So if that's what you're going for, so whether it's about fixing a medical issue or rebuilding after an incident or chasing an aesthetic that feels right, rhinoplasty lives at the intersection of medicine and beauty. It's a choice that is personal to each person, but it's also tied to the bigger cultural messages about what kind of nose is worth celebrating. So now we've spoken about that, let's speak about the psychological dimensions, because a nose job isn't just about rearranging skin and cartilage. It goes way deeper than that. A lot of people go into it hoping that they'll finally feel settled when they look in the mirror, and sometimes it really does work out that way. After surgery, many people feel lighter, they feel calmer, they feel more confident, like they can finally move through the world without that nagging insecurity that is weighing them down. There have been studies that has even shown that strangers looking at their before and after photos often describe the post-surgery faces as not only being more attractive but also healthier and more successful. And in the world that we live in now, where looks often defines or decides how people treat you, that shift can change how someone carries themselves every single day. But it's not always a fairy tale ending. Plenty of people, they walk away feeling just okay about their results. For example, one review from Iraq just found that most patients were glad that surgery helped them breathe better, but when it came to how their new nose looked, many only felt average satisfaction. That's a reminder that changing your nose can boost confidence, but it does not magically fix deeper struggles. If someone is already dealing with low self-esteem or social anxiety, those feelings don't disappear just because their reflection has changed. The biggest emotional risk just shows up with body dysmorphic disorder or BDD. This is when someone becomes consumed by the belief that a specific feature is flawed even if others have barely noticed it. I said earlier that I suffer from BDD, yo, I suffer from BDD, and oh my god, I'm going to speak about my experiences only in this video, but it's just something that I hate to see coming. There have been researches done on this, and research has shown that like around 1 in 5 people who seek out cosmetic nose jobs may have BDD, and that is a scary statistic. Is it 1 in 5 people? So yo, if it's 100 people, that would be like 20 people. If I got that right, I'm a mathematician, because your girl do not know math. But anyway, so these people, they tend to be younger, more anxious, and stuck in patterns of checking, of comparing and obsessing. And the problem is, even if the surgery technically goes perfectly, these patients often stay unhappy because the focus just moves. The nose might look fine now, but suddenly it's the chin or the lips or something else. That's why more surgeons, they've started like to screen for BDD before agreeing to operate on someone, because the people that have surgery blindness, and is it not okay for you to like seek counseling? That's why I said, if you want to do anything to alter your appearance, make sure that you're in the right state of mind and you're doing it for you. And I would suggest that you use like maybe a year or two to think about it before going into it. Like, I'm not against surgery. Why should I be against surgery? I'm not against surgery. Like, do what makes you feel happy. That he has said, do what makes you feel happy, but make sure you're doing it for you and from a place of clear mind. Because as someone that suffers from BDD, sometimes you hate to see yourself. Like, literally, I've mentioned before that I deal with BDD, and when it hits, it can, I'm not gonna lie, it can wipe me out. So my episodes, they usually last like a day or two, and those days, they feel like I'm being trapped in my own head. Like this year on my anniversary trip with my partner, it should have been nothing but fun and memories, but instead I was in tears most of the time. I kept hiding my body, feeling so far from myself. Like the person I saw in the mirror didn't match the person that my partner was looking at. Yeah, I would cry, I would pull away, I didn't even want to be touched. It felt like I was crumbling under something invisible. And through all of that, that my partner was patient. They didn't push me. They reassured me. They reminded me gently, almost joking, but also dead serious, that they'd seen every part of me. So what was I even trying to hide? At the same time, they'll hold me close. They will cuddle me. They'll wipe my tears. They'll make sure that I knew I wasn't alone in that dark space. That kind of understanding just kept me grounded. Even when I felt detached from my own body, their care just pulled me back during that time and reminded me that what I see in those moments isn't the truth. So that being said, let's speak about societal pressures, and here I'm going to speak about race, beauty, and the nose. Rhinoplasty never happens in a vacuum. The decision to change a nose is almost always shaped by the beauty standards around us. And let's be honest, Western trends still run the shows in many places. Yo, I'm not being like, if I'm going to get plastic surgery, it's going to be about my nose in the longest of time, but I understand that people feel insecure about their own nose. The slim, narrow, high bridge nose is often framed as the default, which sends a message that if your nose is broader or flatter or rounder, then somehow it's wrong. For people of color especially, that pressure just creates a tug of war. On one hand, they're told their natural features are too much. On the other hand, their own communities just take pride in those exact features. Living in that contradiction can be so draining. Take Iran for example. Nose jobs are so common there that Tehran is literally called the nose job capital of the world. I never knew that, okay? Young women, they talk about surgery not just as self-care but as a ticket to better opportunities. Some even say that smaller noses lead to better marriage proposals or better job prospects. And in that kind of climate, rhinoplasty just stops being just a personal decision and starts to feel like an investment in your future, like paying tuition, except the cost is literally your face. In the US, the story gets even much more layered for black women. Many who go under the knife, they ask for refinements, not full-on transformations, but the fear of losing a piece of identity always lingers. That's why the rise of ethnic rhinoplasty comes in. And ethnic rhinoplasty is a term that surgeons use when they stress their focus on preserving cultural features. The idea isn't to erase blackness or make someone look white, but to make small intentional changes that still feels authentic.
Black women, your nose job is supposed to be undetectable. You guys are asking for the wrong noses. You guys are asking for noses that does not fit your face. I am someone who had an ethnic rhinoplasty, and you can't even tell. I tried my hardest to not engage in this conversation, but this has to be said. I know there are black women out there who will like a rhinoplasty. So at the end of this video, I am going to show you what I asked for in order to get a nose that may fit your face. This is my nose before. As you see, it's wider. I did not have a bridge, and those were my two main concerns. I did my research for years, maybe 10 years. And this is me 6-week post-op. Natural, nice. You can't even tell I even did anything, and it has no scar, okay? 0 scar. This picture here was probably like a few days after. Wow. And this was probably like 8 months, I believe. Long story short, please get a nose that fit your face. And here are the tips here. Ask for this, and I think you'll be good.
Operating on different ethnicities, but not having them look different. They might look really snatched and different in the operating room, because in the operating room, everything is just starting to heal. Once you see them 6 months to a year or more later, if it's done correctly, it should be imperceptible, keep them guessing. If you look, you can see prior, her nostrils were wide and bulky and flared. When she smiled, they would spread even more. And this detracted from the rest of her cute smile. In pictures, she didn't like how the face was dominated by the central triangle, with so much real estate being taken up by a wide nose for her. Her bridge was wide, the tip was a little bulky and bulbous. So we just kind of refined everything, did a finesse rhinoplasty on her, keeping her Latina features, bringing the nostrils in, but not pinching anything. So when you look at her all healed, it's a subtle change, and she'll continue to self-snatch over the next 6 months to years, but it will always look unoperated on.
Black nose jobs are trending again, and I'm going to need you all to stop saying that, oh, they're not trying to look more white. There are plenty of East Africans who have that sort of nose. You all do realize that there are plenty of East Africans who do not look like that. East Africa is not only Ethiopia and Eritrea. East Africa contains many countries, and I'm going to need y'all to open up a map or open up a book. Plenty of East African people have the same nose some of us are trying to run away from. And I get it. I'm not here to judge, but I'm going to need us to stop using that East African excuse. Please.
For a lot of patients, it's not about chasing European trends or trying to look like an European person. It's about alignment with how they want to see themselves while still holding on to their roots. There's been similar dynamics that have played out in places like Asia, in places like Japan and Korea. Plenty of people ask for subtle changes like a slighter, higher bridge or a sharper tip, but the goal isn't to look Western. And there's one surgeon that once explained that the aim is just to be a more balanced or refined version of yourself. A beautiful Asian face is what they may be going for, not a replica of someone else's feature. The adjustments are about harmony, not like a full-on transformation. Still, the history cannot be ignored. Cosmetic surgery grew up alongside some very ugly racial trends because in 19th century America, immigrant groups like Jews, Irish, black people, they were all singled out for supposedly having ugly noses. Surgeons openly sold rhinoplasty as a way to erase those markers, to frame it as assimilation rather than beauty. Those roots matter because they shaped a standard where Eurocentric features were seen as better, and traces of that thinking are still everywhere. Latin America shows how this plays out in yet another way. There, lighter skin and European features have long been linked to status and privilege. Studies even show that white patients who undergo rhinoplasty often get judged more positively than Latino patients with the same changes. It's not just about symmetry or proportion, it's about the way that whiteness itself gets coded as beauty, while everyone else is told to fix themselves to measure up. When you zoom out, one truth becomes obvious. Changing a nose is never about cartilage or bone. It's about negotiating a lifetime of messages, family, media, culture, and society, all weighing in on what kind of face deserves to be celebrated. I wanted to speak about rhinoplasty and the entertainment industry because the entertainment industry has always had a say in how noses should look and the pressure that goes way back, especially when it comes to old Hollywood. And this has always been the policy with studio executive and agents just telling young actresses flat out that their nose needed to be fixed before they could get leading roles. We have people like Marilyn Monroe, Rita Hayworth, so many people, but I did not really want to go into that because I feel like it's something that we've spoken about so many times. We even have in modern day like Glorilla. Like Glorilla, she came up looking like a thug and a gangster, and she did her boob job, she's gotten her nose done and everything, and it's something that we still see done today. Even Caesar, did Caesar get her nose done? I don't know, but we've seen people in the entertainment industry come out to like get twigs and get nose surgery. So because today we are focusing mainly on nose, and if you guys have any more examples on that, can you put it down in the comment section? I didn't want to speak about it because it's something that we've spoken about so many times, but we know about Barbara Streisand, who is the counter example that everybody remembers because she refused to like have rhinoplasty despite the fact that she got relentless pressures from studios and so many criticism, and her nose just became part of her identity and in many ways part of her success. And despite the fact that she didn't do her nose, she also had the talent, and her talent could literally outweigh Hollywood's obsession with sameness, even if she was constantly being reminded of how different she looked. We know about Bella Hadid, how she got her nose done when she was 14 years old by her mom, and she's come out to say that she regrets and she wished she didn't do it. She was literally 14. We know how Kylie Jenner has done. You all know how celebrity also edit their faces to stay relevant, and how the industry profits from their polished image, and how regular people are just left chasing this illusion and wondering why their reflections don't measure up. So if you have more things that you want to put in, please do put in there. But now let's speak about acceptance, identity, and the nose. This is our final part. Rhinoplasty lives in that messy space between what is personal and what is cultural. For some people, it's a release. Fixing a nose that they've always hated feels like finally dropping a burden that they've carried for years. The change can feel like erasing part of their identity, even cutting away a piece of family and heritage. What looks like a perfect surgery to one person could feel to another like sanding off something that mattered more than they have ever realized. The emotions are layered. Plenty people do walk out of surgery happier and more confident. They breathe easier, they see themselves in photos without wincing, and life just feels lighter. And even then, surgery rarely wipes away every insecurity. That kind of peace doesn't come from a scalpel, it comes from somewhere deeper, somewhere surgery cannot reach. When I think about my own nose and those famous Beyonce lyrics, her loving her Negro nose with Jackson 5 nostrils, I realize pride itself is radical. Choosing to love a radical nose, especially one that the world has repeatedly told us to shrink or refine, is political. It's a refusal to bow to the standard. It is literally saying that this is mine and it's beautiful on its own terms. In the end, whether someone decides to go under the knife or hold on to what they were born with, the choice carries weight either way, because a nose might seem like a small detail, but it holds history, it holds societal pressure, it holds stories that have been passed down through generations, and changing it or not is never just about the mirror. It's about where real acceptance comes from, and whether you're looking for it in the faces around you or within yourself. And guys, that brings us to the end of this video. I really do appreciate each and every one of you. If you stopped by, I really do. Kindly like, share, and subscribe to this channel if you enjoyed what I spoke about. Thank you so much. I really do love and appreciate each and every one of you. Leave a black emoji because you know your girl is serving. Okay, thank you so much. Until next time, bye bye.